The Squirrel and the Tiger.
In a big, beautiful jungle filled with tall trees and colorful flowers, there lived a tiger named Tora. Tora was strong and brave, but more than anything, she was a loving mother to her 3 cubs, Rocky, Molly, and Max. The cubs were still small, full of energy, and always exploring, so Tora worked hard to keep them safe. She knew the jungle had its dangers, especially because some people, hunters, were trying to catch her. One sunny morning, Tora was prowling through the jungle, her senses sharp as she searched for food. As she wandered, something unusual caught her attention. She sniffed the air and immediately recognized the smell of humans. It was the hunters again. Tora had been avoiding them for many days, but their traps were getting more frequent and more dangerous. She had to be careful, especially with her cubs. The hunters had set up traps all over the jungle in hopes of catching her, but Tora was clever and always found a way around them. Today, however, something was different. As Tora moved closer to where the scent of humans was strongest, she heard a soft, squeaking noise. She followed the sound until she came upon one of the hunters' traps, a net spread out on the ground tied to a tree. But the net wasn't empty. Inside it, tangled and struggling, was a tiny squirrel. The squirrel kicked and wriggled, but no matter how much it tried, it couldn't free itself. It was stuck, caught by the trap that had been set for Tora. Tora crouched low, hidden behind a bush as she watched. She saw the hunters approaching the trap. As they got closer, they saw the squirrel in the net instead of the tiger they were hoping to catch. The hunters frowned and kicked at the ground. "Let it go," one of them said, annoyed. "It's not the tiger." Another hunter shook his head. "We'll never catch that tiger," he muttered angrily. "She's too smart for us." With a few quick moves, the hunters freed the squirrel from the net. They didn't care about the little creature. They were only interested in the tiger. The hunters grumbled to themselves as they left, leaving their trap behind, still determined to catch Tora someday. Once the hunters were gone, Tora emerged from the shadows and approached the tiny squirrel. The squirrel, scared and tired from struggling, froze when it saw the large tiger walking toward it. But Tora didn't want to hurt the squirrel. She spoke softly, trying not to frighten it. "You're safe now," Tora said in her deep, gentle voice. The squirrel looked up at the giant tiger with wide eyes. She was surprised to hear such kindness from a creature so much bigger than herself. The squirrel hesitated for a moment, then spoke. "Thank you," she squeaked. "I thought the hunters were going to take me away." "They weren't after you," Tora said with a soft smile. "They've been trying to catch me for days." The squirrel took a deep breath and relaxed a little. "My name is Bonnie," she said. "I usually know how to avoid the hunters, but this time I wasn't paying attention." "I'm Tora," the tiger said, "and I understand. It's getting harder to avoid their traps. Would you like to come with me? I have 3 cubs at home who would love to meet you." Bonnie blinked in surprise. She had never met a tiger before, let alone been invited to meet tiger cubs, but Tora seemed friendly, and Bonnie was curious, so she nodded. "I would like that," Bonnie said. Together, Tora and Bonnie walked through the jungle. As they got closer to Tora's den, Bonnie could hear the playful sounds of cubs wrestling and tumbling in the grass. When they arrived, the 3 tiger cubs stopped what they were doing and ran toward their mother. "Mama!" they called out in excited voices. But when they saw Bonnie, they paused and stared. "What's that?" asked Rocky, the largest of the cubs, tilting his head in curiosity. "This is Bonnie," Tora said. "She's going to stay with us for a little while. Be kind to her." The cubs were fascinated by Bonnie. They had never seen such a small creature up close. Molly, the smallest cub, giggled. She's tiny, Molly said, her eyes shining. Bonnie smiled shyly. I may be small, but I'm fast. The cubs liked her right away. Soon, they were all playing together, with Bonnie darting around the den and the cubs chasing after her. It became a game. Bonnie would race ahead, and the cubs would try to catch her, but they never could. Bonnie was too quick. Days passed, and Bonnie grew more comfortable in Tora's den. She became friends with the cubs, and Tora watched them play together with a smile on her face. She was glad to see her children so happy. One afternoon, as Bonnie was exploring the jungle with the cubs, she noticed something worrying. There were more traps set by the hunters, hidden beneath piles of leaves and vines. Bonnie's sharp eyes spotted them easily, but she knew that the cubs, in their excitement, might not see them in time. Bonnie thought hard about what to do. Later that day, while walking through the jungle, Bonnie saw another trap. This one a large net, just like the one that had caught her before. Suddenly, an idea popped into her mind. She knew how to help Tora and her cubs. Without warning, Bonnie jumped into the trap. The net snapped closed around her, and Bonnie waited patiently. Soon, the hunters returned, thinking they had finally caught something big. But when they pulled the net up and saw the same little squirrel, they groaned in frustration. "It's just that squirrel again," one hunter said angrily. Another hunter threw his hands in the air. "We'll never catch that tiger at this rate." They freed Bonnie once again and left, stomping through the jungle in frustration. Bonnie smiled to herself. Her plan had worked. She had tricked the hunters into thinking their traps weren't working, and they were starting to give up. Bonnie returned to the den where Tora and the cubs were waiting for her. "Why did you jump into the trap?" Rocky asked, tilting his head in confusion. Bonnie smiled. "If the hunters keep catching me, they'll think their traps are useless and stop trying to catch your mother." The cub's eyes widened with admiration. Bonnie was small, but she was very brave. From that day on, every time Bonnie saw a trap, she would jump in and let the hunters catch her. The hunters got so frustrated with catching the same squirrel over and over that they eventually gave up. They stopped setting traps, realizing that they would never catch Tora. As the weeks passed, Bonnie became more than just a guest. She became part of Tora's family. She watched over the cubs as they grew stronger and wiser, always making sure they stayed safe. The cubs loved Bonnie and treated her like a big sister, even though she was much smaller than they were. Tora was very grateful to Bonnie. One evening, as the cubs were dozing off, Tora looked at Bonnie and said, "You've done so much for us. You're not just a friend. You're family now." Bonnie smiled, her heart swelling with happiness. "I'm glad I could help," she said. "I never thought I would have tigers as my family, but now I can't imagine my life without you." The cubs, now almost fully grown, continued to play and explore the jungle. But they always stayed close to home, remembering Bonnie's lessons about being careful. And as the cubs grew into strong, proud tigers, Bonnie remained by their side, a small but brave guardian who had become the hero of their jungle. And so, Tora, her cubs, and Bonnie lived happily in the jungle, always looking out for one another as family does.
Before you go, please click the subscribe button and like the video. Thank you.